Hello everyone. Before we start, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with where you're from and what time you're watching. That way, YouTube will keep showing you stories just like this one. Now, let's begin. I'd been clocking in at the Bridge Costco for 5 years, and honestly, I still couldn't tell if I loved the place or if it was slowly draining the life out of me. Some days, it felt like family. Free pizza samples, co-workers who covered for you so you could snag an extra 10 minutes in the break room, and that oddly satisfying beep of the scanner gun that made you feel like you were in control of something. Other days, it was straight up hell, screaming toddlers, coupon lunatics demanding manager overrides, and customers who looked right through you like you were just another piece of the machinery. That Saturday morning in February was the kind that settled in your bones. The air outside was thick with the leftovers of a snowstorm, flurries still drifting down like confetti no one asked for. I got in at 6:45 sharp, stomping slush off my boots and pulling my hood down as I passed a cluster of customers already crowding the entrance like it was Black Friday all over again. "Morning, Isa," said Dean, our store manager, parked next to the security monitors with his ritual cup of black coffee in hand. "Morning," I muttered, shrugging off my coat. "Why are they already out there? We don't open for another 15. "Diamond earrings, instant savings, 20% off," he said, smirking. "Valentine's Day weekend, love's in the air, and desperation apparently." I chuckled, but it felt forced. The jewelry section always brought out a certain kind of customer, the ones who stared too long, leaned too close, treated you like part of the merchandise. I tried to shake the crawling feeling off my shoulders as I scanned my badge at the back clock. I wasn't supposed to still be working here. 5 years ago, I was engaged, finishing my master's in education, planning a late spring wedding up in the Poconos with my college sweetheart, Riley. Then one Tuesday afternoon, I came home early and found him on our couch with my best friend, my maid of honor. The kind of betrayal that doesn't just cut, it severs. I dropped the degree, canceled the wedding, moved back in with my mom in West Orange, and started working at Costco to make back what I lost on the venue deposit. Since then, I'd clawed my way back to something that looked like stability. But trust? Especially with men? That ship had sunk and taken half my soul with it. At 9:15, right after the morning rush, I made my way over to jewelry. The glass displays were already fogged over with breath marks, fingerprints smeared across the panes from customers pointing and dreaming. A couple of them were already asking to hold rings they clearly couldn't afford. Our current bestseller was a $2,000 white gold solitaire. Decent sparkle, basic setting, flashy enough to impress, cheap enough not to scream debt. "Isa," I heard from the end of the counter. It was Marie, one of my regulars. Late 60s, always dressed like she walked out of a 1980s Vogue ad. Massive fur coat, hoop earrings, shopping cart full of boxed wine and peanut butter pretzels. "You got any of those silver tennis bracelets back in stock?" she asked, leaning close. "Let me check the drawers," I said, already ducking beneath the counter. The storage drawers under the display were cold and metal, and I thumbed through the inventory boxes until I found the SKU tag. But as I reached for the bracelet box, I heard it. "Isa." A voice. One I hadn't heard in nearly 4 years but knew like a scar under the skin. I turned slowly. The air felt thicker suddenly, like the temperature dropped 10 degrees. Riley Grant. He leaned against the glass case like he owned it. His hair was longer now, messy and slightly greasy, falling over his eyes. The eyes themselves were darker somehow, sharper, more hollow. And he had this beard that didn't suit him, not in the way he probably thought it did. He wore a smug half-smile, the kind that used to melt me. Now it made my stomach twist. "Didn't expect to see you here," he said, like we were bumping into each other at a coffee shop, not the scene of a crime. I stood up straighter, the bracelet box still in my hand. "Can I help you find something?" Ouch. He clutched at his chest in mock offense. "That's all I get? After everything? It's been what, 3 years?" "4, I corrected, voice clipped. He gave a slow nod. "Right. Time flies when you're rebuilding your life, huh? I didn't answer. Well, I'm here to buy an engagement ring. He smiled like it was some twisted inside joke. Not for you, obviously, he added, though I always thought you'd look good in white gold. A pulse of cold moved through me like an echo. I glanced at the ceiling cameras, black domes staring down from every corner. I couldn't walk away. Not without drawing attention, not without risking a write-up. Do you need assistance or not? I asked, keeping my voice flat, professional. He leaned a little closer. I could smell his cologne, something cheap and synthetic, almost masking something else. Something off. Yeah, he said. Recommend me something good. She's special. I forced a nod, unlocking the display case. My hands trembled slightly as I slid out a tray of rings. My skin prickled, a low hum of dread tightening in my chest. Something wasn't right, not just with the situation, but with him. He wasn't just here to shop, and deep down I knew it. These are our best sellers, I said, laying out the tray like I wasn't holding my breath. This one's $1,390 after instant savings. 1 carat, eye clarity, G color, white gold. Very popular. Riley picked it up, holding it up to the light like he actually gave a damn. It's nice, but it needs to scream commitment, you know? I muttered under my breath, just low enough to stay under the camera's radar. Then maybe scream it somewhere else. He smirked, eyes cutting sideways at me. Same old Issa. Still got that spark. Before I could answer, Marie returned, her cart now even more absurdly packed. Ah, there it is. You're a doll, Issa. I smiled at her like everything was fine, like my ex-fiancé wasn't standing 3 feet away, shopping for another woman. I boxed up her bracelet and handed it off with a, "Have a good one." When I turned back, Riley was still staring at the ring, but something had shifted in his expression. His grin was gone. His face had gone tight, eyes serious, calculating. "I'll take it," he said. "Okay, I'll ring you up at Register 4, I replied, keeping it all strictly business. He nodded, slipping the ring box into his coat pocket. "Be seeing you." Something in the way he said it made my skin crawl. Cold, confident, like he already knew he would. I watched him go, thought that'd be the end of it. After he left, I told Dean. I wasn't dramatic, just explained who he was and why I had a bad feeling. Dean shrugged. As long as he paid and didn't cause a scene, we can't do much. Maybe he was right, but I couldn't shake the unease. The days blurred after that. Same rotation of customer complaints, spilled coffee and red polos. But it stayed with me. That feeling, like something was off, like I'd missed something. Then came Wednesday. An elderly woman flagged me down at the entrance. "Miss? I think someone dropped this." She handed me a black ring box. Same style, same brand we carried in the jewelry section. I flipped it open, and my stomach sank. Inside was a cheap knockoff. Glassy, plastic-looking. The kind of ring you win in a vending machine, not buy at Costco. I rushed to the back and did a quick inventory check. One of the $2,000 diamond solitaires? Gone. I pulled up the purchase logs. Riley's name was the last one attached to that SKU. I called Dean over, and we reviewed the security footage together. There it was. At the jewelry counter just after I helped Marie, right when my back was turned, Riley had palmed the real diamond ring and slipped a fake one into the box. Smooth, practiced, like he'd done it before. I hadn't seen a thing. Neither had the cameras, really. Not enough for prosecution on their own. Dean called the police. Officer Kinley arrived about 30 minutes later, notepad in hand. "Do you know this man personally?" she asked. I paused. "Yeah, we used to be engaged a few years ago." She nodded like that explained something. "We'll check the address on file. Could be buyer's remorse gone sideways." But it wasn't just that. I knew it wasn't. That night, my car alarm went off twice in the Costco parking lot. Nothing stolen, nothing broken. But there was something left. a ring box placed neatly on the windshield. Inside was a folded note. "You looked good down there." My entire body went cold. I didn't sleep. I was spiraling. Riley hadn't just stolen a ring. He was playing a game now, toying with me, watching, and nobody seemed to be taking it seriously. When I came in Thursday, Dean pulled me aside. "He returned the ring," he said. "Dropped it off overnight. Said it wasn't the right one." I checked the returned box. It was the ring, the real diamond, which meant the switch with the fake had been made after the sale, which meant he still had access to the store. Somehow. That night I stayed late for closing. I was restocking bulk packs of vitamins when I heard it. Footsteps. Steady. Behind me. I turned. No one. The aisle was empty. I told myself I was just being paranoid and went back to work. Then I felt it. Warm breath, close to my ear, and a whisper that wasn't a whisper. "Miss me?" I screamed and spun around. No one there. Security pulled the tapes. Nothing. The footage showed me standing alone, frozen. But I felt him. I heard him. Friday, Valentine's Day. Dean offered to let me take the day off. I should have said yes. But I was angry now. I wanted to finish the shift, make it through, prove something to myself. At 7:22 p.m., Riley walked back in. No smirk, no charm, just something wild in his eyes. Unhinged. He walked straight up to the counter. "Why'd you call the cops?" he asked, voice low. Controlled. "We could have handled this like adults." My jaw tightened. "Leave." "You're lucky I didn't do worse," he hissed. Customers started backing away. One woman pulled her kid behind her. "I came here for closure," Riley said. "Maybe even a second chance. But now?" He reached into his coat. "I think I'll take that ring back, and make sure you're the one wearing it." Security moved in fast, but Officer Kinley was already stationed in electronics, waiting. She tackled him before he could get within reach. Inside his coat were 3 fake rings, a set of zip ties, and a printed photo of me. From Facebook. He was arrested for theft, stalking, and attempted kidnapping. I transferred to a Costco in a different city 2 weeks later. But every time I open a jewelry case, every time a customer leans in just a little too close, I still think of Riley, of the ring he never meant to buy, of how many people come to Costco not for the bargains, but for access to people like me. I never used to think anything truly scary could happen at a Costco. That place was supposed to be boring and safe, where people hoarded bulk toilet paper, grabbed rotisserie chickens, and grazed through free samples like cattle in a supermarket pasture. Fear didn't belong in a place like that. But now I know better. It was a Thursday evening in early March, just cold enough that your breath fogged in the air but not enough to justify a coat. I'd stayed late at work, just trying to catch up on emails, and Michelle had texted around 6, asking if I could swing by Costco on my way home. "Ground beef, taco seasoning, and chili powder," she wrote. She was pulling another long shift at the hospital. ICU. Said she was too exhausted to cook and I'd promised to handle dinner. I almost said no. My legs ached, and my head felt like it was full of static. The Eastbrook Parkway Costco was always a zoo around this time, but I figured if I moved fast, I could be out in 15, maybe 20 minutes. And hell, maybe even grab a 150 hot dog before leaving. The parking lot was busy but not chaotic. The kind of middle ground crowd where you didn't have to circle 3 times to find a spot, but you still had to park near the cart returns. Inside, the place buzzed faintly under those migraine-inducing fluorescent lights. I grabbed a cart and pushed through the entrance, passing greeters who didn't even look up from their scanners. Shoppers moved like ghosts, slow, tired, dead-eyed, pushing carts filled to the brim with enough groceries to feed a bunker for a month. I weaved past them, trying to be efficient. "Meat?" Got it. Taco seasoning? Check. All that was left was chili powder. I made my way to the spice aisle, row 23, wedged between the endless towers of bulk pasta and industrial bags of baking flour. It stretched long and high like some cathedral of flavor. But no matter how I scanned, the chili powder was nowhere. Cayenne, cumin, turmeric, paprika, even weird stuff like fennel and cloves. But no chili powder. I frowned. Maybe I'd missed it. I checked again. Nothing. Of course, I muttered, my voice tight. Should have just ordered it online like a sane person. I glanced around, hoping to find a Costco employee in red or blue. Nothing. The only person nearby was an older man with a white beard and a dolly full of cooking oil boxes. Clearly a vendor. Not helpful. I was about to give up when I heard a voice behind me. Looking for something spicy? It was low, smooth, and way too close to my ear. I jumped. My body twisted automatically, pulling the cart with me. Behind me stood a tall man, mid-30s, maybe early 40s. Tan skin, dark eyes, and those deep-set laugh lines that either meant he smiled a lot or smiled too hard for the wrong reasons. He wore a red Costco vest, but something was off about it. Faded, old, like it had been washed too many times. The patch on his chest was crooked. No name tag. Yeah, I said, inching back half a step. Chili powder. Can't find it anywhere. He grinned wider. Too wide. His teeth were fine, but the smile stretched longer than it should have, like a mask trying too hard to look friendly. Oh, chili powder, he said, drawing out the words. That one's tricky. Likes to hide behind the cumin. Sometimes even under the oregano if it's feeling sneaky. I gave a half laugh, trying to stay polite. Sure. Mind showing me? He turned toward the shelves without answering and started shifting jars around, muttering spice names under his breath, like he was reciting a spell, not reading labels. There was a weird rhythm to it. Coriander, turmeric, smoked paprika. Not today. Not you. Then he asked, still facing the wall. You cooking for someone special? I hesitated. My wife, I said, keeping my voice casual. She likes spicy food. He gave a sharp little chuckle. Ah, spicy women deserve spicy men. I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't. Just stood there watching his hands twitch from one jar to the next. He finally turned and held something out. Here we go. Ground chili powder, finest we've got. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. I reached for it, but he didn't let go. Just held it in the air like it was bait. Wait, he said. Before you go, can I ask you something personal? My stomach clenched. I guess, I said carefully. He leaned in, too close again. I could smell something strange on him. Not beau, not cologne. More like something metallic and sweet. Old pennies and rotting oranges. If your wife ever wants to try something new, he said, lowering his voice, you ever thought about adding a third chef to the kitchen? I blinked, thinking I'd misheard. What? He winked. I don't just spice food. I spice life. Private chef services. New Costco initiative. For loyal customers only. I stared at him, my throat dry. Are you serious? I always am, he said with another grin. I cook, I clean, I satisfy, all flavors welcome. Okay, I'm good, I muttered, backing away. Thanks for the help, but that's way out of line. He tilted his head like a curious dog. Out of line? Come on, don't be a baby. I bet she'd love my kielbasa. I froze. My jaw clenched. Jesus Christ, I muttered under my breath. What's your name? I'm reporting you. He didn't flinch. Instead, he lifted his arms like a circus act mid-introduction. Name's Calvin, but most folks just call me Chef C. That same grin stretched across his face. I cater to the bold. There was no humor left in me. I glanced around, but the aisle was still practically empty. A couple of families were way down at the far end, too far to notice what was happening. I tightened my grip on the chili powder and stepped back. "I'm leaving." "You sure?" he called out, louder now. "I haven't even shown you my secret ingredient." That was it. I turned sharply and walked away, ignoring the heavy feeling crawling up my spine. "Suit yourself," he shouted behind me. "But don't say I didn't offer you a taste of something unforgettable." I picked up my pace, pushing the cart with shaky hands toward the front of the store. My heart pounded like I'd just sprinted a mile. I don't get freaked out easily, but that guy wasn't just creepy. He was wrong. There was something deeply, fundamentally off about him. Like his skin was stretched over the idea of a person, not an actual one. At self-checkout, I abandoned my cart and flagged down an employee. Young guy, maybe 19, with a nervous smile and a name tag that read, Chris. "Hey," I said quietly, leaning in. "There's a guy back in the spice aisle, red vest, says his name's Calvin or Chef C or something." Chris tilted his head. "What about him?" "He said some messed up stuff, sexual, creepy, like real creepy. You might want to check it out." His brows furrowed. "Calvin, you sure?" "That's what he said." Chris glanced over his shoulder. "We don't have a Calvin on staff." My chest tightened. But he had a red vest, kind of old, faded, no name tag though. Chris didn't hesitate. He pulled out a walkie. "Security to aisle 23, he said into it. "Possible impersonator, red vest, middle-aged male, disturbing behavior." I paid for my stuff but lingered near the exit. Couldn't help it. Curiosity mixed with unease. Something about the whole thing felt unfinished, like I'd just stepped out of a horror film before the final act. 2 employees appeared within a couple minutes. One of them wore a manager badge, and they both headed toward the spice aisle, talking quickly into earpieces. Then, it happened. A scream, not hysterical, but sharp, loud enough to slice through the background chatter. Everyone around me stopped mid-step. Then someone yelled, "He's got a bomb!" The entire store snapped into silence for half a second, a beat of paralyzed confusion, then chaos. Someone near the produce section screamed. A mother grabbed her kid and bolted. A watermelon exploded on the tile floor. Shoppers ran, shoved, abandoned carts mid-aisle. Alarms hadn't even gone off yet. We didn't need them. I barely remember how I got outside. It was like being swept up by a current. One moment I was staring toward aisle 23. The next I was in the parking lot under the pale orange glow of the streetlights, cold air stinging my cheeks. We stood there in silence, huddled in clusters, watching through the giant glass doors as figures moved frantically inside. Sirens wailed in the distance, then closer. First a couple squad cars, then an ambulance, then a bomb squad van, matte black and ominous, pulled up right near the entrance. I stood off to the side, arms folded tight across my chest, heart pounding so loud it echoed in my ears. Chris, the young worker, was just a few feet away. He looked pale, his hands shoved deep into his vest pockets. "Was it him?" I asked softly. Chris nodded. "Yeah." Said he had a bomb in an envelope. Told the manager he'd blow the place if anyone touched him. My mouth went dry. Jesus Christ. "They don't think it's real," Chris added, "but they're not taking chances." We waited. 3 hours passed in the cold before the police gave a statement. No bomb. The envelope was empty except for a folded takeout menu from some off-brand Chinese place. No wires, no triggers, no explosives. But it didn't matter. He didn't work there. He'd slipped in wearing a vest from who knows where, blended in like static on a TV screen. Just enough to pass, just enough to hide. They arrested him but didn't release his name. Said the investigation was ongoing. Apparently, they were looking into similar incidents in other states. Over the next few weeks, local reports started surfacing. 3 states, same MO. A man in a red vest, disturbing jokes, bizarre sexual comments, always carrying an envelope, always smiling, always in the spice aisle. I haven't been back to Costco since. Not because I think he'll come back. Not because I'm scared of bombs or creeps in red vests. But because now I understand. Real horror doesn't always lurk in the shadows or in the darkened corners of old houses. Sometimes it waits in aisle 23, between the cumin and the cayenne, smiling like it already knows your name. I used to think of Costco as my little sanctuary, not in some overly dramatic way, just familiar, predictable, safe. There was something oddly calming about the towering shelves of bulk cereal and cleaning supplies, the soft rumble of carts on polished floors, the low chatter of people lost in their own routines. I'd moved to this new city about 8 months ago for a marketing job. Fresh start, new apartment, still kind of figuring things out. I didn't know anyone here, not really. So Tuesday evenings at Costco turned into a weird ritual for me. A constant, always alone. Always around 7:15 p.m., just after the dinner crowd cleared out. I'd flash my membership card at the door, give the greeter a nod, and slip into the flow like clockwork. Aisle 7 for snacks, aisle 10 for paper goods, aisle 23 for frozen stuff, aisle 25 for drinks. Same path, same pace every time. I didn't have to think anymore, my feet just went. I think I liked it that way. It made the silence in my apartment feel less heavy afterward. But that routine stopped feeling comforting one night in late February. It had been an uneventful Tuesday. The office was quiet. I had leftovers for lunch. The sky was the kind of gray that looks fake, like someone desaturated the world. Cold, sure, but not unbearable. I wore my black parka, pulled my hair into a low bun, and headed out with a scribbled list in my coat pocket. The parking lot was half empty, same as usual. Inside, it was just the regulars, older couples comparing olive oil prices, lone guys in hoodies stacking frozen pizzas into their carts. Halfway through aisle 7, I was crouching to grab a bag of trail mix when something shifted. Not in the air exactly, more like in me. That instinctive tickle behind your ear. A prickle, like static. The kind of thing your brain doesn't have words for, but your body notices anyway. I stood up and glanced behind me, casual, like I'd forgotten something. That's when I saw him. He was across the aisle, maybe 15 feet away, standing perfectly still. A man, older, maybe late 60s, tall and gaunt, like someone who used to be bigger but had withered over time. His heavy gray coat drooped on his narrow shoulders, sleeves hanging too long over his hands. His hair was uneven, jagged at the ends like it had been hacked with dull scissors. A bowl cut. No, seriously. And his beard looked coarse and wiry, like the bristles of a scouring pad. But it was his face that really stuck with me. Pale, sunken cheeks, deep creases around his mouth and eyes. And those eyes, too wide, too still, locked right onto mine. No expression, no blinking, just watching. I glanced away, trying not to overthink it. People space out all the time. Maybe he was looking through me. I turned back to the shelf and pretended to study an oversized almond jar, my hand resting on the cart handle like everything was totally normal. But my skin itched with that same prickly unease. Don't be dramatic, I told myself. You're just tired. Maybe he's just weird. Everyone has a weird guy at the grocery store story. Still, I turned into aisle 10 a little faster than usual. It was empty. I tried to shake the feeling, reached for a pack of paper towels, adjusted them in my cart, and then movement. Not loud, just a whisper of motion caught in the corner of my eye. I glanced to the end of the aisle. There he was, again, same guy, same posture, still staring. He hadn't followed me directly. He was on the adjacent aisle, just visible through the metal shelves. But somehow he had moved to stay lined up with me. His body hadn't turned much, but his head had. Angled, focused. It hit differently this time. See, I've walked home at night, dealt with drunk dudes on subways, leering customers at bars. But this was something else. This man wasn't approaching. He wasn't saying anything. He wasn't even pretending to shop. He was just watching. No reaction, no purpose, just that blank, unsettling stare like I was a program on a broken TV. I pulled out my phone and stared at the screen, pretending to scroll. My hands were a little too still. I didn't want to be that girl who panics at nothing, but something felt off in my bones. So I texted my friend Kayla. Me. Some dude staring at me in Costco. If I go missing, avenge me. A moment passed. Then, Kayla. Take a pic for evidence. Also, do you have pepper spray? I smiled, but it felt mechanical. Then, against my better judgment, I glanced back again. Gone. The man was gone. I exhaled sharply, only then realizing how tight my chest had gotten. Maybe he just wandered off. Maybe it was all in my head. A weird old man on a weirder day. It's not illegal to look at someone, right? I shook it off and pushed forward, cartwheels squeaking slightly as I headed for aisle 23. Frozen foods. I grabbed the usual, 2 boxes of frozen burritos, a pepperoni pizza, stood there pretending to consider a family-sized lasagna just long enough to peek over my shoulder. Still no sign of him. Good. Normal. Maybe I really was overthinking this whole thing. But then I turned into aisle 25. I didn't even get more than a few steps in before I saw him, standing at the far end of the aisle. Still, staring straight at me. Same coat, same choppy bowl cut, same dead stare. My heart stuttered. This wasn't a fluke. 3 different aisles now, all separate, all perfectly timed. He wasn't just shopping, he wasn't just wandering. He was tracking me, moving ahead, keeping out of reach, but always there. This wasn't in my head. This was real. And I wasn't alone. I gripped the cart handle tighter, turned sharply, and abandoned the drinks altogether. Screw the bottled water. I had enough at home. I just wanted out. I took a breath and aimed for the self-checkout lanes, trying to keep my pace steady, casual. Don't make a scene. Don't run. Just move. But my hands were shaking. As I passed aisle 17, I caught a blur of motion to my left, a glimpse of gray disappearing at the far end. My stomach dropped. He was still moving, still watching, still following. I made it to the front of the store, choosing the furthest self-checkout station from the rotisserie chicken section where the shadows were thicker. My hands fumbled as I scanned each item, the barcode beeping unnaturally loud in my ears. A woman in yoga pants glanced at me, probably noticing the tremble in my fingers or the way I kept flicking my eyes toward the front entrance. I didn't care how I looked, I just wanted to leave. Then I saw it. His reflection. In the glass door of the freezer case near the rotisserie chickens, he was standing there. Still, hands at his sides, not moving, not browsing, not pretending anymore, just watching. That's when it hit me. He didn't have a cart. He hadn't picked up a single item this entire time. I scanned the last box of burritos with a shaky hand, punched the buttons to pay, and yanked my receipt out of the machine. The second it printed, I grabbed my bags and made a beeline for the exit. The greeter barely looked at my cart as I flashed the receipt. I didn't even slow down. My legs were already in motion, fast walking through the vestibule and into the cold. Costco's parking lot at night is strange. Too much space, too few people. It feels exposed, yet somehow empty. Like everything echoes. My car was parked further out than I remembered, row D toward the back. Great. I power walked between rows of quiet SUVs, eyes darting over my shoulder every few seconds. No one behind me, just a couple of families unloading groceries. A group of teens shoving each other near a dented minivan. A woman grunting as she slammed her trunk shut. Okay. Almost there. Relief started to slip in, warm and just beneath the skin. Then a black sedan crept into the row ahead of me. I froze mid-step. The black sedan slowed down, rolling directly into my path like it had been waiting for me. My car, my damn car, was just behind it, maybe 20 feet away. I clutched my keys tighter, heart hammering. Then the back door opened, and there he was, the same man. Bowl cut, heavy gray coat, eyes stretched open, glassy and unnatural, like a ventriloquist's dummy had just been yanked to life. He didn't say anything, just stared, unmoving, like I'd been summoned by mistake and he was realizing it too late. But then I saw the driver, someone new, early 30s, clean cut, not a hair out of place. He looked right at me, calm, empty, like he wasn't even seeing a person, just checking off a box. My legs turned to stone. My brain screamed, "Run," but I couldn't move. The man in the back started to step out. That snapped something loose. I turned and ran, bolted, full tilt. I half-shoved the cart before ditching it completely, letting it smash against the curb with a crash that echoed through the lot. My boots thudded against the pavement, my breath already burning in my throat. Behind me, footsteps, heavy, fast, coming closer. I screamed, loud, raw, not words, just a desperate noise tearing itself from my chest. Heads turned, a horn blared. Somewhere behind me, I felt a hand swipe the back of my coat, fingers curling, nearly catching. I twisted, yanked forward, and kicked behind me blindly. My foot connected with something soft, a leg maybe. I screamed again. "Help me!" I choked out. Someone yelled. Another cart went clattering to the ground. That tiny moment of chaos gave me the space I needed. The man behind me backed off just enough. I sprinted again, legs wobbling, lungs screaming. 2 rows over, I saw it, an idling silver pickup truck, some older guy inside. No time to think. I ran straight for it. The man inside opened the door, stepping out, confused but alert. "Hey, are you okay?" "They tried to grab me," I gasped, nearly collapsing at his feet. "He followed me. He was in the car. He was in the back seat." The words poured out, messy, frantic. I pointed toward the black sedan, now screeching out of the lot, tires squealing. I could barely breathe. The man looked. Another shopper, someone in a hoodie near a red Honda, was already on the phone with 911. The Costco greeter jogged over, then 2 more employees rushed outside after him. But it was too late. The sedan was gone. No license plate, no trail. I dropped to the pavement, my knees scraping raw against the asphalt. My coat was torn. My purse, gone. They must have grabbed it in the chaos. I hadn't even noticed. Police arrived within 5 minutes. I gave my statement with trembling hands, phone clutched to my ear as Kayla tried to talk me down from the panic spiral. The officers were kind, focused. They asked about every detail, the stare, the car, the man's face, the driver. The store manager pulled footage immediately. That's when I saw it. Surveillance from multiple aisles, the gray-coated man standing still, watching, never shopping, not once, just following, waiting. Turns out, I wasn't the only one. He'd been tailing 2 other women that same night. Quiet, precise. But none of them saw him like I did. None of them felt it. 3 days later, the black sedan was found in an underground parking garage downtown, abandoned. Inside, they found 3 women's purses, duct tape, zip ties, a burner phone, and a towel covering a license plate. The car was traced to a man named David Lorne, a sealed record, known offender. He turned himself in, said nothing, showed no remorse. The older man, the one who stared at me like I was a photo he'd memorized, was his uncle. They caught him a day later, trying to board a Greyhound in Kentucky. They'd been targeting women shopping alone, watching, waiting for the exact moment when no one would notice them disappear. It's been 6 months now. I still shop at Costco. Just not that one. Never that one. Kayla comes with me now. We stay together even if it means waiting longer in line. We park near lights. We carry pepper spray. We don't laugh off the weird feelings anymore. Because now I know. Evil doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it waits in aisle 7, wearing a dead stare and a coat that hangs like a shroud. And sometimes, the only thing standing between you and a black sedan with no plates is that strange little chill at the back of your neck. Pay attention to it, it might just save your life. I'd never stepped foot in a Costco before that night. It wasn't some moral stance or anything. I just never saw the point. I live alone, no kids, no roommates, and I'm not exactly the type to buy cereal in 5-pound bags or enough canned soup to last a fallout. But earlier that week at work, I overheard Jenny and Marcus talking about how much they save by buying in bulk. Jenny even pulled up her phone and showed me a deal. A 30-day free trial membership, no strings attached. She said, "You don't even have to talk to anyone. Sign up online, use the barcode at the door, boom, you're in." That was Wednesday. By Friday night, I decided to check it out. I work second shift at a logistics company, nothing fancy. Mostly handling order entries and pissed off clients from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. It pays the bills, and I don't hate the hours. That Friday had been a mess of irate customers and system glitches. By the time I clocked out, I needed some kind of reset. So I thought, why not? Wandering a massive store in near silence sounded almost therapeutic. The Costco was in a commercial strip in a place called Spring Hollow, a quiet, mostly forgettable town about 20 minutes from my place. The store sat beside a Home Goods, a Planet Fitness, and one of those big box pet stores. It wasn't a bad area per se, just off after dark, deserted, artificially lit and too quiet like a movie set after everyone's gone home. I pulled into the parking lot around 9:30. They closed at 10. The place was massive and mostly empty at that hour. A few cars clustered near the entrance, some employee vehicles toward the back. I didn't want to be that guy parked right at the front for no reason, so I left my car somewhere in the middle, near the building's side wall. Some of the overhead lights flickered lazily, pulsing in that slow, almost organic way that creeps under your skin. Inside, the air hit me, cold, overly clean, like freezer burn. The place was cavernous, towering shelves, gleaming floors. It was like walking into a hangar for giants. I wandered, not really shopping, more like browsing aimlessly, picked up a giant tub of almonds, tossed some towels into the cart, a 3-pack of thermal shirts I didn't need. I wasn't looking for anything. I just wanted to feel the place. At 9:55, a voice crackled over the loudspeakers. "Costco will be closing in 5 minutes. Please proceed to the front registers." I made my way up, checked out with no issue. The cashier, a heavy-set man with thinning hair and tired eyes, scanned my items. He gave me a weak smile and asked, "You find everything all right?" I nodded. "Yeah, just looking around." He gave a vague grunt of acknowledgement. No small talk. I like that. By 10:05, I was out the door. The parking lot had turned eerie. Empty now, except for 1 or 2 carts stranded by the cart corral. The lights from Planet Fitness still glowed in the distance, but there wasn't a soul in sight. I started walking toward my car, cutting across the wide lot at an angle. My keys were already in hand. That's when I heard it. Screeching tires. Not from the road behind me, from inside the plaza. I froze. A black sedan shot over the curb, separating the Costco lot from the pet supply store. It didn't roll over gently. It launched. Tires bouncing rough over the grass, headlights jerking wildly before leveling out. Then it turned and headed directly toward me. My body locked up, every nerve on edge. It wasn't speeding anymore, but it moved with this strange, controlled urgency. I watched as it crept down the row, the same row my car was on. My pulse ticked louder in my ears. It coasted past 2 empty spaces, then stopped. Not in a space, not at an angle like it was trying to park. Just stopped, engine still running. It sat there, idling about 10 feet behind my car. I was stuck in no man's land. Too far from the store to sprint back, too far from my car to jump in and lock the doors before they could get to me. A flood of thoughts rushed in. Maybe they were waiting for someone. Maybe they were just checking their GPS. Maybe they got lost, but nothing about how they parked or the fact they lingered felt normal. I turned slowly, casually, like I'd forgotten something, and started heading back toward the cart return. Maybe I'd even double back into the store. That's when I heard it. Vroom. The engine roared to life. The car swerved sharply and tore off, tires screeching again, vanishing around the side of the building. Gone. Just like that. It veered down the far end of the lot, disappearing around the back of the Planet Fitness building. I waited another beat, then walked briskly to my car. My fingers trembled slightly as I dug for my keys. I got in, locked the doors, and started the engine. As the dash lights blinked on, I saw it, headlights, coming fast from the far end of the lot. The same car. It didn't hesitate. It came right back into the row where I was parked. My chest tightened. No. 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 What the hell? It pulled into the spot directly next to mine. Tight. Close. The passenger door opened fast. A man stepped out. I only saw a flash of him. Tall, hoodie, dark pants. Something glinted in his right hand. I couldn't tell what. His steps were fast, deliberate. He went straight for my driver's side door. I barely had time to react. I slammed the lock button just as his hand touched the handle. He yanked. Nothing. Then he leaned closer, peering through the window, eyes hidden beneath the hood. I threw the car into drive. My hands were shaking. There was no car in front of me. I gunned it straight ahead, hopping over the curb, barely avoiding a cart return. I didn't even look back. By the time I reached the road, I checked my mirrors. The car had turned the opposite way, back toward the lot. It didn't follow me. I didn't go home right away. I drove for 30 minutes, cutting through random neighborhoods, checking to see if anyone was behind me. No one was. For weeks after, I replayed it over and over. I told a few people, my sister, my friend Tara. They all said the same thing. Good thing you trusted your gut. And it was. But that wasn't the part that got under my skin. The part I couldn't stop thinking about was how fast it all happened, and how random it felt. No one knew I was going to Costco that night. I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't even decided myself until the last minute. I didn't use location tags. I didn't post on social media. I hadn't even used my real name for the trial membership. I'd signed up using my middle name and a burner email I use for coupons. There was no way someone could have planned it. So was it just chance? Or was someone watching the lot? Was he looking for any woman leaving alone? The night played on repeat in my dreams. Sometimes in them I wasn't fast enough. Sometimes the door didn't lock in time. Sometimes there was more than one guy. I never went back to that Costco. I canceled the trial. Never renewed. 3 months later, I saw something that chilled me even deeper. I was scrolling Facebook one morning when I saw a local post shared by someone in a Crime Watch group. A woman had been followed in the parking lot of a Target. Same area, same time of night. She'd parked midway, like me. A dark sedan had pulled up behind her, then left. When she got into her car, the same sedan returned and parked next to her. A man got out, tried her door. She'd locked it. She drove off. Different store, same pattern. The comments on the post were filled with similar stories, variations, different nights, same fear, no arrests, no license plates, no clear footage. Sometimes I still think about it. The flash of his face through the window, the glint of something in his hand, the way he didn't hesitate like he'd done it before, and maybe, just maybe, one of those other women didn't get away as cleanly. I should have listened to that feeling, the one that started in my chest like a warning bell the second I saw him. That low, uneasy thrum in my ribs that whispered, "Something's wrong." I couldn't have told you why I felt that way. Nothing obvious had happened, but I ignored it, chalked it up to nerves or paranoia. And that decision cost me more than just the few $100s I'd scraped together. It cost me something deeper, something harder to put a price on. It started 2 months ago. I'd been saving up for a new TV for almost a year. picking up late-night shifts at the diner, saying no to takeout, selling off my dusty old college textbooks online. My old 42-inch finally kicked the bucket with a hiss and a screen full of static after nearly 10 years. I didn't need anything extravagant, just something big enough to fill the blank wall in my shoebox-sized apartment. Something reliable. Costco had a weekend deal on a 65-inch Samsung. Not the newest model, but still solid. Clean picture, good sound, a decent refresh rate. I'd checked their site obsessively all day and confirmed it was still in stock at the Briarfield Road location. That place had become familiar territory for me over the years. Tucked between a massive Lowe's and a mostly dead strip mall with an abandoned Payless, that Costco always felt kind of safe. I knew the layout, which registers moved fastest, even recognized a few of the workers. It was a Sunday night, the kind where the rain doesn't come down hard, it just sort of clings to everything. My hoodie was already soaked by the time I pulled into the parking lot, and it was empty. Not totally deserted, but close. Only a few scattered cars, mostly near the entrance. That should have been my first clue. It was 8:30. Store closed at 9. I figured I had plenty of time to grab the TV and go. Cheryl was working the entrance just like usual. Older lady with silver braids and a warm voice. I'd made small talk with her before, mostly about the weather or how long her shift was. "You're cutting it close tonight," she said with a tired smile as I flashed my card. "Just picking something up real quick," I replied, brushing rain off my forehead. I grabbed a regular cart, tires squeaking slightly on the damp floor, and made a beeline for the electronics section. The store was quieter than I'd ever heard it. No music playing, just the distant beep of a register and the faint sound of a couple arguing in whispers somewhere near the canned goods. I found the TV fast. It sat on a low metal rack, boxed and tightly wrapped in plastic, the sale tag taped right on top. $479.9. I stood there for a second, just admiring it, took out my phone, double-checked the model number against the one I'd saved. Too easy, I thought. Of course, the regular cart I'd grabbed was way too small for the TV's massive box. I sighed, left it parked next to the display, and headed back toward the front to grab one of those big flatbed carts they keep near the entrance. And that's when I noticed him. Cheryl was gone by the time I made it back up front. In her place stood some teenage kid, maybe 16 or 17, hunched over his phone behind the podium. He didn't even glance up as I grabbed a flatbed cart, the metal clattering as I pulled it free. I headed straight back to electronics and wrestled the heavy TV box onto the cart. It was heavier than it looked, awkward too. I grunted as I lifted, trying not to drop it or pull something in my back. Once it was secure, I started wheeling it toward checkout. Eric was on register. Middle-aged guy, graying at the temples, always cheerful. We'd chatted a few times before. "Someone's upgrading tonight," he said with a grin as he scanned the barcode. "Been saving for months," I told him, still catching my breath. He nodded. "You gonna need help loading it into your car?" "Nah, I think I've got it. Appreciate it, though." "You parked close?" "Not really. Row D, I think. I'll manage." He handed me the receipt, still smiling. "Well, don't throw your back out. That's a nice TV." I chuckled politely and pushed the cart toward the exit. My sneakers squeaked against the damp concrete, and I noticed how quiet the place had gotten. Outside, the sky hung low and heavy, dark gray, almost black. The parking lot shimmered with puddles, streetlights casting shaky, distorted reflections in the water. I paused just outside, scanning the lot. It took a second, but I spotted my car near one of the cart returns in row D. I was about to start pushing when he appeared, like he'd stepped right out of the concrete. He emerged from the side, near a concrete pillar, or maybe he'd been standing just beyond my view the whole time. Early 20s maybe, slim and wiry. 5'10", give or take. He wore a red raincoat with the hood pulled low over his buzz cut. His features were sharp, cheekbones like blades and eyes that seemed to flick over every part of me at once. His jeans clung wetly to his legs, soaked halfway up from the rain, and his sneakers made a wet squish with every step. "Need help with that?" he asked, casual as if we knew each other. I instinctively shook my head. "I'm good, thanks." He smiled, not warm, not forced, just odd, too smooth. "No worries," he said, voice friendly. "I actually work here, outside crew. We help customers load big stuff, part of store policy." He tugged a lanyard from under his coat. The plastic badge holder was fogged up from the rain. I couldn't make out anything on it. No name, no logo, just condensation. I hesitated, glancing at the box, then back at him. "Seriously, I can manage. It's not far." He laughed softly, like I was a kid being stubborn. "Totally get it. But yeah, store rules. You throw your back out, they get sued. Just pull your car up, I'll toss it in, takes 2 seconds." I should have walked. Should have asked to speak to a manager or looked for an actual employee. Should have noticed. No name tag, no Costco jacket, not even gloves. But I was soaked to the bone. My arms ached from lifting that damn box, and some part of me thought, what kind of person offers to help if they're not legit? "All right," I sighed. "I'll go pull around." "Cool, I'll be right here." He gave me a thumbs up and stepped back under the overhang out of the rain. I walked quickly toward my car, trying not to slip on the wet asphalt. My fingers were numb as I dug my keys out of my pocket. The car beeped when I unlocked it, and I climbed in, turned the engine over, flicked on the wipers. As I pulled into the fire lane near the store's entrance, I looked toward the spot I'd left the guy and the cart. Gone. My stomach twisted. I parked halfway in the red zone, jumped out and scanned the area. No sign of the flatbed. No sign of the guy in the red raincoat. I stepped out into the drizzle, turning in a slow circle. Maybe he'd wheeled it somewhere under cover. Maybe. Then I saw movement, way across the lot, past the final row of cars near the dumpsters. He was there, pushing my TV across the slick pavement, heading straight for a beat-up black Dodge Ram. Another man stood by the open tailgate wearing a gray hoodie and jeans, stockier than the first guy and older. As I started moving toward them, they picked up speed, not running, but quick, urgent, coordinated. The guy in red swung open the truck's tailgate. The two of them heaved the massive box inside like they'd done it 100 times before. "Hey!" I shouted, my voice cracking with panic. "Hey!" I shouted again, louder this time, but they didn't stop. The guy in the red raincoat darted around to the passenger side while the one in the gray hoodie jumped behind the wheel. The truck's engine snarled to life like it had been idling, ready for this. I started running, feet slapping against wet concrete, heart already hammering against my ribs. The truck screeched backward out of the space, barely missing a lamppost, then swung hard toward the exit. That meant it had to pass right by me. For a second, I thought they might panic. Maybe they'd ditch the TV and bolt on foot. Maybe, but the truck didn't slow. It sped up, straight at me. I leapt to the side, slipping in a puddle. My knee slammed into the ground and I skidded awkwardly before rolling behind the metal cart return. My jeans were soaked, my palms scraped raw. The roar of tires was too close, and I swore I felt the gust of wind as the truck swerved, wheels jerking sharply in my direction. That wasn't a scare tactic. He tried to hit me, no doubt. The way the tires screeched, the sudden veer. If I hadn't moved, I would have been under those wheels. And then they were gone. Just like that. Gone. No license plate I could catch. No bumper stickers. No dents I could describe. Just that red raincoat, flapping behind him like a taunt. I stayed there on the cold pavement, gasping, trying to wrap my head around what had just happened. My hand trembled as I pushed myself to my feet. Inside, the air felt too bright, too dry. My shoes squeaked awkwardly on the linoleum. I found Dana, the shift manager. She was young, mid-20s maybe, brown hair and a tight ponytail, sharp eyes behind smudged glasses. Her face changed the second I started talking. She didn't question me, didn't try to play it down. She just nodded, her lips pressed tight, and guided me to the back office. I sat in a folding chair that creaked under me as she called the police. Eric, the cashier, gave a statement too. He remembered me saying I didn't need help. Said he'd noticed the kid by the front entrance on his phone, but nothing else unusual. Dana pulled the security footage, but the exterior cameras were half blinded by the rain. It showed me leaving with the cart, but after that, shadows, blurs, nothing useful. The cops were decent about it, sympathetic if not overly hopeful. "Quick hit," one of them said, jotting in a little notebook. "They know what they're doing, no plates, no ID, in and out in less than 2 minutes. Likely been scoping the lot all evening." He said it like this kind of thing happened all the time. Maybe it did. I went home with a bruised hip, torn jeans, and the distinct nauseating feeling that I'd been hunted. Not mugged, not randomly robbed. Hunted. I didn't sleep that night, didn't eat the next morning. For weeks afterward, every flash of red in a crowd made my stomach drop. I started parking right by store entrances, even if it meant circling the lot 5 times. I got obsessive about checking employee badges. No lanyard, no help. I didn't care if they were holding a clipboard and wearing a name tag. I still asked questions. I still looked for Cheryl, and I never went back to that Costco. Eventually, yeah, I got another TV, smaller, less flashy. I had it delivered. No more flatbeds, no more carts in the rain. If you're reading this and you're the guy in the red raincoat, I hope that TV was heavier than it looked. I hope it bent your wrist, tore your shoulder, cracked your tailgate. I hope it didn't even work, because you didn't just steal a box. You took something I don't know how to get back. You stole my ability to feel safe in a place I once trusted. And to anyone else reading this, listen to that voice. You know the one that tightens your chest, the one that whispers, something's wrong, even if you can't explain it, especially when it's raining. I only worked at Costco for a few months, but there's one shift I can't forget, no matter how many years pass. Every time I drive past the old store on Main Street in Clearfield, Utah, something in my gut knots up. You'd never guess it from the outside. Just rows of parked cars, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, people wheeling out giant carts full of bulk paper towels and rotisserie chickens. Looks like any other Costco across America. But if you'd been there that night, if you'd seen what I saw, you wouldn't forget it either. I was 22, broke, and feeling like a ghost in my own life. I'd dropped out of college after flunking a second semester in a row, told everyone it was a break, but deep down, I knew I wasn't going back. I moved back in with my dad, who lived alone in a 1-story house on the edge of town. Clearfield was quiet, the kind of place where the biggest thrill was the smell of hot dogs in the Costco food court or a clearance sale at Target across the street. I applied at Costco on a whim, figured it was better than nothing. They called me in 3 days later. The manager, a woman named Janet with tired eyes and coffee-stained teeth, said they were desperate for people. I got the job. Orientation was mostly common sense stuff. Smile, wear your name tag, don't let anyone inside without a valid membership. I mostly pushed carts or stocked the freezer section, which was freezing in ways that felt unfair. But once in a while I got stuck with entrance duty, just standing there like a security scarecrow, checking IDs while people streamed in with dead eyes and overstuffed wallets. That night, mid-November, the cold bit hard. The kind of cold where your nose hairs freeze the second you step outside. I remember it because I could see my breath the whole shift, even inside the store. The doors were automatic, but they kept sliding open with every person who walked in, letting in gusts of winter. It was peak after-work chaos. Families panic shopping for Thanksgiving. Carts loaded with turkeys, giant pies, slabs of butter, and enough soda to hydrate a football team. I was up front, zipped into my oversized black jacket under the red Costco vest, half hiding behind the membership scanner. "Hey, can I see your card?" I asked a woman juggling a shrieking toddler on one hip while pushing a cart with her elbow. She flashed her membership card without even looking and kept moving. Most people were like that. In and out. No eye contact. I preferred it that way. I didn't want to be the guy making awkward small talk about the weather or cranberry sauce. Then he walked in. At first, I didn't even realize what felt off. Just that something did. He didn't slow down, didn't reach for a wallet or even glance toward the scanner. Just breezed right past the cart return with this stiff, determined stride like he belonged. Like he owned the place. Tall. Pale. Wore a faded green military-style jacket zipped to his neck, dark jeans, and these beaten-up black boots. No cart, no bags, no card, nothing in his hands. I stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir. Do you have your membership card?" He didn't flinch, didn't look at me, just kept walking like I was a potted plant in his way. Something about that rubbed me raw. I took a few quick steps, cutting him off just past the entrance by the rotisserie chicken stand. The smell of greasy meat wafted between us like a wall. "Hi, sorry. I just need to see your membership card real quick." That's when he stopped. Just stopped. He turned his head and stared. And I mean, stared. His face didn't twist with annoyance or confusion. It stayed blank like a mannequin left out in the cold. His skin looked off. Pale but not from the cold. Almost translucent. Under the harsh fluorescent lighting, his eyes shimmered this weird silvery gray. They didn't blink. Not once. Just open, still, dry, and staring like he'd forgotten how to move his eyelids. I tried to stay professional. "You need a card to shop here," I said again, pasting on a weak smile. Then he looked down, slowly, and read my name tag. "Aaron," he said, almost whispering it. My chest tightened. It wasn't just that he said my name. It was how he said it. Like he'd known it for a long time but hadn't spoken it out loud in years. Like he was testing it out in his mouth to make sure it still fit. That's when the hairs on my arm stood up beneath my jacket. I'd never seen this guy before in my life, and yet when he said my name, it felt personal. Like I was supposed to remember him too. I forced a little laugh. "Right. So, your card?" He didn't answer. Just kept staring. He didn't move. Just stood there, staring at me like I was some kind of puzzle he was trying to solve. It wasn't angry or threatening, but damn, it was off. The kind of look that crawls under your skin and makes you second-guess everything. After what felt like forever, he finally spoke in this low, slow voice. "I'm just getting something from the cafe." I hesitated. Technically, the cafe didn't require a membership. Anyone could walk in through the side entrance and grab a hot dog or a slice of pizza. But nobody ever came through the main warehouse doors just to hit the cafe. It was weird. "Oh, okay. The food court's right over there," I said, pointing toward the back of the store. He nodded once, slow and deliberate, then turned and headed in that direction. I stood there watching him go, a pit of unease settling in my stomach. For the next couple of hours, I forgot all about him. They rotated me to stocking snacks in aisle 5, and later I helped this frazzled mom who'd knocked over a giant display of goldfish crackers, little orange crumbs everywhere, kids screaming, chaos as usual. By 7:30, the crowd started thinning out. By 8, we were gearing up to close. I was back at the front with Marcos, this guy in his mid-40s who'd been working there forever, and had a laugh that could cut through the worst day. He was taping off the exit line with one of those retractable belts. "You on till close?" Marcos asked, tossing me a leftover churro from the cafe. "Nah, just clocking out once they shut the doors," I said, biting into the churro. "Can't wait to go home." We both laughed softly. The store was almost empty now, just a handful of last-minute shoppers hustling toward the registers. That's when I saw him again, the guy in the green jacket. He was just standing near the front, between the holiday wrapping paper display and the pharmacy counter. No cart, no bags, just watching, like he was waiting for something. My stomach dropped. "What's up?" Marcos asked, following my gaze. "That guy," I said low. He came in earlier, said he was getting something from the cafe, but he's been here the whole time. Marcos squinted, looking the guy up and down. Looks kinda sketchy. No idea where he's been. I shook my head. I don't think he bought anything, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a card. Marcos muttered something under his breath, then started walking toward the man. I stayed back by the register, heart pounding, watching every step. The man didn't run, didn't panic, just slowly turned around and walked back into the deeper aisles like he owned every inch of the place. Marcos trailed him for a few steps, then shrugged and turned back. "Slippery guy," he muttered, disappearing past the clothing section. "You want me to grab a manager?" Marcos asked. I nodded, trying to steady my voice. While Marcos went off to find a supervisor, I stayed near the front, pretending to check the receipt printer. But inside I was wound tight, every nerve screaming. I couldn't put it into words, but that guy, he creeped me out worse than anyone I'd ever dealt with in that store. And I'd seen my share of rude, drunk, or just plain weird customers. It wasn't that he was trespassing exactly, more like off. Like watching someone in a dream. You know you've never met them, but their smile feels like it's hiding something dangerous, something you'd rather forget. We started closing down. Last register shut off, customers trickling out. The overhead lights dimmed to signal the end of the day. I was headed back to clock out when I caught movement between two pallet stacks near aisle 15. I stopped cold. There he was, crouched low, slipping behind a towering stack of bulk rice bags, his green jacket barely visible in the flickering warehouse lights. He was hiding, not like ducking to tie a shoe or catch his breath. He was curled tight, body angled like he was trying to disappear, waiting, watching. I froze, then backed up slowly, trying not to make noise, and walked, didn't run, to the back office. Kelly, the closing manager, was sitting at the computer counting the last of the till. "Hey, sorry, there's a guy hiding in aisle 15, I said, voice low, trying to sound normal. "Same one from earlier. He never left." Kelly looked up, eyes sharp. "Hiding?" I nodded. "No cart, no bags?" "Just that green jacket." She radioed security. "We'll check it out. You can clock out." I hesitated. "Are you sure? Shouldn't I stay?" She shook her head firmly. "It's handled. Go on." I should have argued, maybe stayed, but I didn't. I was wiped out, feet killing me, and honestly, I didn't want to see what they'd find. I just wanted to get home. 2 days later, when I came back for my next shift, Kelly pulled me aside. "Hey, good call on that guy the other night," she said. "What happened?" I asked, trying to keep it casual. "Security found him still in aisle 15, said he was just looking around but refused to leave. Got agitated, tried to move deeper into the store. They had to call the cops." My skin crawled. When they searched him, Kelly lowered her voice. He had a large hunting knife and duct tape stuffed inside his coat. I felt my heart drop. "What?" "No ID. Wouldn't say why he was there. Cops are still figuring it out." That night I barely slept, kept replaying every detail. The way he said my name, the way he moved, those long hours inside just watching and waiting. And one question wouldn't leave me. He never brought a cart, never grabbed anything, never tried to buy a damn thing. So what was he waiting for? Who was he really after? And what would have happened if I hadn't seen him when I did? I never really gave much thought to the people who shop at Costco. You see so many in a day, they just blur together. Parents trying to keep toddlers from running wild. Couples silently debating which vitamin brand is better. Older folks hoarding every sample like it's a competition. You clock in, do your job, clock out. Rinse and repeat. I'd been working at the Midtown Costco in Oregon for just under a year when it happened. Nothing glamorous about my role. Mostly cashier shifts or stocking freezers. But that Tuesday morning I got sent to the back to clean up and restock the overstock shelf by the automotive section. Someone from the opening crew had missed it, so Carla, my manager, Asked if I could handle it before things got busy. It was way too early, like 9:45 a.m., only 15 minutes after the store opened. Mornings at Costco are kind of peaceful. The overhead lights hum softly, aisles stretch out like empty highways, and there's this weird comfort in the repetition. Box after box, shelf shift, wait, repeat. I had a cart full of windshield wipers and motor oil jugs that needed organizing. At first, I didn't notice him. He was just standing maybe 10 feet away, like any customer waiting for someone or checking out the batteries behind me. Nothing about him screamed weird. Jeans, a blue crewneck sweater, red baseball cap pulled low, thick black-rimmed glasses, mid-30s, maybe early 40s, clean-shaven average build, totally forgettable. Except, I couldn't forget him. Because he wasn't looking at the shelves or the carts like a normal person. He was staring straight at me. Not the casual glance, but full-on, unblinking eye contact. At first I kept working, assuming he was just zoning out, staring through me. Happens all the time in stores. But then I looked up again. He was still watching, completely motionless. No flicker of distraction. His eyes didn't even flinch when I met them. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Can I help you find something?" Nothing. His face didn't twitch, didn't even register that I spoke. I laughed awkwardly. "You good, sir? Looking for something specific?" Still nothing. Just that dead, unmoving stare. It was unsettling, not outright scary yet. Just that tight, low hum of wrongness behind your eyes. Like your brain's trying to warn you, but you don't want to listen. I looked around. No other employees nearby. Just me, this guy, and an aisle full of car wax and winter tires. I gave it 10 more seconds. He didn't blink. So I turned back to the shelf and focused on my job. What else could I do? People act weird all the time. Maybe he was neurodivergent or on something. Didn't want to judge. Even with my back turned, I could feel his eyes drilling into me. He didn't move. Not a muscle. No footsteps. No shuffling of a cart. Just silence behind me. It felt like forever before I glanced back again. And then, just like that, he was gone. No sound. No goodbye. The aisle was empty. I exhaled, not realizing I'd been holding my breath, and muttered, "Okay then." "Weird?" A voice in my head asked. "Yeah, creepy," I admitted. But it faded fast. I had boxes to break down, carts to move, time to kill. By the time my shift ended at 3 p.m., I'd pretty much forgotten about the whole thing. That night, I got home around 4. I share an apartment with my roommate Erin, but she was out visiting her sister in Eugene, so I had the place to myself for the week. I ordered food, watched Netflix, scrolled TikTok, the usual. Nothing felt off until around 1 a.m. I just brushed my teeth and was shutting my laptop when I happened to glance out the window. My bedroom faces the street. It's a quiet neighborhood, second floor. Just a sidewalk and a row of street lamps. Usually peaceful. But tonight, there was someone standing across the street. Just standing there. Even from that distance, I knew it was him. Same blue sweater, same red cap, same posture. Like some uninvited statue frozen under the dull glow of a street lamp. I froze. My heart hammered, fluttering in my chest like it wanted to punch its way out. That surreal moment when your brain scrambles, trying to convince itself this can't be real. Coincidence, I told myself. Maybe it's just someone who looks like him. I squinted, leaned closer to the window, and then he tilted his head slightly right at me. I yanked the blinds shut so fast I nearly tore them off the wall. What the hell? I backed away, flipped off my lamp, and crouched by the window without even peeking again. My hands shook like I'd been running. My mind was racing. How the hell would he know where I live? Was it really him? Am I losing it? I didn't sleep much that night. Next morning, I told a couple coworkers, Daniel and Steph, what happened. Steph laughed first. "Okay, that's a little sketchy. Are you sure it wasn't just some look-alike?" Daniel chimed in. I mean, it's a city. People wear red hats. I know what I saw, I said, quieter than I wanted. Neither seemed too worried, though Steph did offer to walk me to my car after our shift. That helped a bit. Nothing happened the rest of the day or the next. I started telling myself maybe I was just paranoid. Maybe it really was just some random guy dressed similarly. Then Saturday came, and everything spiraled. The weekend shifts at Costco are always chaos. Packed aisles, jammed food courts, endless checkout lines. I was stationed near the clothing section folding rejected jeans and stacking sweaters. Around 1 p.m., I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned, expecting a customer. It was him. Up close now. Too close. Same blue sweater, same red cap. "Hey," he said, smiling like we were old friends. "Do you remember me?" he asked. I blinked, heart pounding so hard it felt like it had burst. Did you need something?" I stammered, stepping back a half step. "You remember me," he repeated, voice low and smooth. "You saw me the other day." I swallowed hard. "If you need help with merchandise, I can grab a manager," I said, trying to keep calm. He laughed, this soft, breathy chuckle that sent a cold spike down my spine. "You didn't tell anyone, did you?" That froze me. I glanced around. Too many people, too loud, nobody noticing. "I'm going to ask you to leave me alone now," I said, voice firmer. But he didn't move, just smiled. "You live in apartment 206, right?" I stopped breathing. Time froze. And then he just turned and walked away, disappearing into the crowd like a ghost. I reported it immediately. My manager didn't take it lightly. Thank God. They reviewed the security footage, alerted store security, and even let me leave early. But they never caught him inside the building. By the time anyone started looking, he was long gone. That night I filed a police report. Without a name or a clearer threat, they said there wasn't much they could do. "Keep your doors locked," the officer told me. "Yeah, thanks for the comfort." I didn't go back to work for 3 days. In that time I saw him twice more. Once from my bedroom window, standing farther down the street near a street sign. Once in my apartment complex parking lot. I was too scared to get out of my car, so I drove straight to a friend's place and crashed there overnight. Eventually the sighting stopped. Weeks passed. No more red hats. No more strange smiles. Costco transferred me to a different location, closer to my parents' neighborhood. Management was supportive, but some coworkers weren't. A few still joked about my stalker boyfriend. But I know what I saw. I know what I felt. And every time I walk through a warehouse aisle and someone lingers just a little too long nearby, I feel that same chill creeping up my spine. Because I still don't know how he found me. And I don't know if he'll ever come back, but I do know one thing: he remembered me.